No one expected those words to come from Ly. The room fell completely silent, as if even the air stopped moving. Officers, neighbors, and volunteers who had gathered to discuss Bich's rehabilitation all turned toward him in disbelief. Ly stood tall, his voice steady but heavy with determination. "When Bich is released, I will take responsibility for helping her rebuild her life." A storm of whispers broke out instantly. Some nodded in approval. Others looked outraged. But no reaction was stronger than that of Sam. She froze. Her hands, which had been holding a cup of warm tea, suddenly felt ice cold. Her mind echoed with memories she had tried so hard to bury. Nights of fear, betrayal, Ly falling to protect her, Bich's desperate face before being taken away in handcuffs. Why? Why would Ly make such a promise? Sam's heart trembled, not with anger at Ly, but with something far more painful. Fear. Fear that forgiveness would lead to another wound. Fear that kindness would once again be used against her. Fear that the peace she had finally built would be shattered. Ly stepped closer, meeting her eyes. "Sam," he said softly but firmly, "I know what you're thinking. I know what you've gone through. But I believe everyone deserves one more chance." His words were gentle, yet they cut deep. Sam looked at him, her voice barely audible. "And what about my chance, Ly? When do I get to live without looking over my shoulder?" Ly didn't answer immediately. His silence was not from guilt, but from respect. He knew this decision was not his alone. The entire room watched them, breath held caught between admiration for Ly's compassion and sympathy for Sam's pain. In that fragile moment, one thing became clear. The question was not whether Bich could change. It was whether Sam's heart could bear to let her. That night, too, Sam could not sleep. She sat alone in the dim glow of a small lamp, staring at the quiet farm outside her window. The wind rustled through the leaves gently, but inside her heart, another kind of storm was rising. She remembered everything. Remembered how Bich had once been like a sister. Remembered the laughter, the shared meals, the secrets whispered under the stars. And remembered most painfully, the day everything shattered. Betrayal always comes from those closest to you. Strangers cannot break your heart. Sam closed her eyes as tears gathered silently. She had forgiven once, and it had cost her everything. A soft knock came at the door. It was Ly. He stood outside, not entering until she looked at him. "May I come in?" Sam said nothing, but she stepped aside. Ly walked in quietly, taking a slow breath before speaking. "Sam, I didn't announce it to hurt you. I know," she replied coldly. "You said it because you believe in second chances. That's who you are." Ly looked at her with gentle eyes. "Is that wrong?" Sam turned away, gripping her trembling hands. "It's not wrong, Ly. It's terrifying." He was silent, allowing her to speak. "I finally feel safe. After everything that happened, I'm finally able to breathe again. But now you're telling me to open the door again. To the same past that almost destroyed me." Her voice cracked, revealing a pain she had long hidden. Ly stepped forward slowly. Not as a savior, not as a hero, but as someone who had also bled beside her. "Sam, I'm not asking you to love Bich. I'm not asking you to forget what happened. I'm only asking," he paused, eyes shining with sincerity, "that you don't stop living because of your fear." Sam looked at him, stunned. Ly continued, voice steady. "If we lock ourselves inside our pain, then the one who hurt us wins twice. Once when they hurt us, and again when we choose to never heal." Sam swallowed hard. His words pierced through the walls around her heart, not breaking them, but knocking gently. She whispered, "So what now? Do you want me to support your decision?" Ly shook his head softly. "No. I want you to trust me." And in that single moment, Sam realized, the real question was not whether she could forgive Bich. It was whether she could trust Ly enough to walk through this storm together. The next morning, Sam thought the air would feel lighter. She had survived the night without breaking. But instead, her chest felt even heavier, as if the sunrise itself was demanding an answer. She stepped outside to tend to the garden, hoping the rhythm of daily work would calm her. She picked up the watering can, ready to pour water over the rows of young vegetables. But she froze. There, standing at the edge of the field, was Bich, thin, pale, wearing plain clothes, hands trembling. She wasn't supposed to be released, yet so why was she here? For a moment, neither spoke. The wind blew softly between them, carrying memories they both wished they could forget. Bich lowered her head, her voice barely audible. "Sam, I didn't come here to ask for forgiveness." Sam clenched her fists, forcing herself not to step back. Bich continued, struggling to keep her voice steady. "I came to tell you this. I won't stay. Ly wanted to help me, but I can't accept it, not if it hurts you." She looked up, tears shining in her tired eyes. "You don't have to forgive me. You don't even have to speak to me. I just wanted to thank you for visiting me that day. It gave me the strength to face my punishment." Sam stood frozen, her heart caught between anger and pity. Bich slowly placed something on the ground, a small paper envelope. "This is the letter I wrote for you. I was going to send it once I got released, but I think I needed to say it in person." Then she stepped back, ready to leave. But Sam's voice finally escaped her lips, shaky yet firm. "Wait." Bich stopped. Sam's hands trembled as she picked up the envelope, staring at it. "You think everything will be solved just because you walk away?" Bich blinked, stunned. Sam looked at her not with hatred, but with something more painful. "If you leave now, it doesn't heal anything. It just leaves everything unfinished." Bich bit her lip, unsure if she was allowed to hope. Sam inhaled deeply. "I don't know if I can forgive you." Silence. "But I don't want to spend the rest of my life hating you either." Bich's breath caught. Sam's voice softened. "If Ly wants to help you, then I won't stop him. But understand, this trust is not something you receive. It's something you earn." Bich's tears finally fell, not from guilt, but from gratitude. For the first time in a long time, she whispered, "I feel like I have a future." When Ly arrived at the farm that afternoon, he expected tension. He had prepared himself for silence, or anger, or worse, distance. But instead, he found Sam and Bich standing in the garden, quiet, but not hostile. They weren't smiling, they weren't laughing, but they were standing in the same space without breaking apart. To Ly, that was already a miracle. He approached slowly, not wanting to disturb whatever fragile peace existed. "Sam," he called softly. She looked at him, not with annoyance, not with blame, but with calm acceptance. "I didn't agree," she said plainly. Ly's heartbeat paused. "But I didn't refuse either." Bich lowered her head humbly. She didn't dare meet Ly's eyes. Sam continued, her voice firm yet gentle. "If you want to help her, Ly, then do it. But understand, this won't be easy. Trust isn't something that returns overnight. And forgiveness doesn't erase the past." Ly nodded, eyes glistening not with tears, but with deep respect. "I don't need it to be easy," he said. "I just need it to be right." Sam stared at him for a moment, then turned to Bich. "As for you," she said slowly, "don't think this is a welcome, it's an opportunity." Bich pressed her trembling hands together. "I understand." Sam exhaled, the weight in her chest easing just a little. "Good. Then start by helping me with the evening chores." Bich blinked, stunned. "And me?" Sam nodded, already walking toward the vegetable baskets. "If you want to rebuild your life, then start with the soil. It's honest, it doesn't judge. It only gives back what you put in." Ly smiled faintly. No speeches, no dramatics. Just quiet work under the setting sun. 3 people, once torn apart by pain, now bound together by a single unspoken promise. To try not to forget, not to pretend the past never happened, but simply to try. And sometimes, that is all healing truly needs. There are moments in life when forgiveness is not a gentle act, but a battlefield. What happened between Sam, Ly, and Bich was not a simple conflict. It was a wound, one that could have destroyed them all forever. Betrayal had shattered trust. Pain had built walls. and fear threatened to imprison their hearts more tightly than any jail cell. But then came a turning point. Not through grand speeches or miracles, but through a quiet decision to try again. Not because Bich deserved immediate forgiveness. Not because the past suddenly disappeared. But because living forever in resentment is its own kind of prison. Forgiveness is not surrender, it is strength. Many people think forgiving someone means excusing their mistakes or forgetting the pain they caused. But true forgiveness is not weakness, is wisdom. It does not erase what happened. It simply says, I refuse to let this pain control my future. 2. Sam did not forgive because she was naive. She forgave because she was strong enough to choose peace over bitterness. She understood that hating Bich forever would not heal her hit, would only keep her chained to the past. Redemption requires effort, not just apology. On the other side, Bich learned an important truth. Saying I'm sorry is not enough. Real change is proven through action. She didn't beg to be accepted. She offered to earn back her place piece by piece. That humility was her first step toward redemption. Love is not just romance, it is responsibility. And Ly, with his unwavering compassion, taught us that kindness is not about choosing sides, it is about choosing what is right, even when it is difficult. He did not heal the situation by force. He simply stood as a bridge, reminding both women that the past may define us, but it does not have to imprison us. Final reflection. Life will always give us two choices: to remain wounded, protecting ourselves with anger, or to heal with courage, opening a door to new beginnings. Forgiveness does not mean trusting blindly. It does not mean forgetting. It simply means releasing the burden not for the sake of others, but for ourselves. Because in the end, freedom is not given by the court or society. Freedom begins when the heart decides to let go.